Hello, everyone. I want to thank and appreciate everyone for joining in. So, I'm going to start off with a little message, then we'll hop into our guest and a little bit about what Vets for Child Rescue actually does. Children must be taught on how to think, not what to think. They are our precious gifts and our future. It is our duty to guide them with the knowledge they need to be successful in society. And by doing this, we must protect their innocence.
Absolutely. We're with
Yes.
Veterans for Child Rescue. Our mission is to expose and eradicate child trafficking. We're a nonprofit. We're focused here in the USA. We're comprised of military professionals, former and current law enforcement, senior intelligence community veterans, child abuse and trafficking survivors, and people who are willing to do whatever it takes to end child trafficking here in the USA. So today we are joined by one of our good friends, Cheif Beck.
Thank you.
Cheif Beck is very brave and a courageous individual who has spent a career protecting our nation by fighting some of the hardest battles. Beck served for 20 years in the U.S. Navy SEALs, taking part in 13 deployments, including 7 combat deployments. Beck completed Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL BUDS training with Class 179 in 1991 and subsequently served with SEAL Team 1. Following SEAL tactical training and completion of a 6-month probationary period, Beck received the Navy Enlisted Classification 5326 as a combatant swimmer, SEAL, entitled to wear the Special Warfare Insignia. Beck eventually served as a member of the United States Naval Special Warfare Development Group, also known as DEVGRU, which is a special counter-terrorism unit popularly known as SEAL Team 6, and received multiple military awards and decorations, including a Bronze Star and Purple Heart. And one thing that I noticed, being on the Army side, is I noticed you have a Ranger tab as well. So
That's not right.
oh, it's not okay.
No,
I'm
not
sorry.
Ranger tabbed. I was in a Ranger platoon when I was at VMI and did like recondo stuff, but no Ranger.
No, no Ranger. Okay, I got that
Where is
wrong.
that? Where'd you read that? Because that's wrong.
I saw that on, I think, a Wikipedia page.
That's always wrong, man. Wikipedia. Jeez.
What I get.
I don't know who inputs that stuff, but it's wrong. And that's a good point to make because stuff is wrong that we think is right like that kids are reading right now and getting the wrong idea or wrong impressions. This is like official things out there that people take as official are incorrect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good point right there of how easy it would be to have wrong information there for the public to consume, and then mislead people, and that's heck, there's good point. Sorry, man. I had to
you're
interrupt. I apologize, but don't read anymore, man. That's just too much.
I'm not going to read no more. That's the reason why I'm handing it right over to you. I'll hand it right over to you. Kind of explain a little bit about you and kind of what your involvement is.
Well, I mean, you heard a little bit about my military career, and I did serve with Craig Sawyer, who is the founder of this organization, which is an amazing organization doing the work that our government should be doing, but are not, unfortunately. And Craig, I worked with you at SEAL Team 1, and I'll work with you again. I'll follow you to the gates of hell because that's where we have to go to save people, and that's what I'm willing to do. And that's why I'm here. And I want you to know a little bit about my story and how I could help, the organization and also possibly give some advice to parents and to kids, teenagers, whoever's listening to this, grandparents, people need to hear this from a lot of different angles. And I think I can offer a slightly different angle than you might have heard before. I've been through some of this stuff and you have to know that even adults are led astray by different things. We're led astray by greed or ego. We're led astray by our own anxiety. Adults are led astray by their trauma that they had in their lives. And until we start healing ourselves, how do we expect these kids to grow up in a healed environment, in a healthy environment, and for these kids to understand that we care, even though we're going to give them lessons, even though we're going to tell them no, even though we're going to challenge them, we still love them, and this is our future. If these kids are growing up in a society right now where half nude people are dancing for dollar bills. This is happening in America. And even, Vladimir Putin points at America and calls us the evil, Satan. And I kind of look at ourselves and you see things that are happening in our country in front of these little kids. And I kind of got to say, there's some bad stuff going on. And I can't stand for this anymore. I couldn't stand for it anytime. But when you see it so flagrant, you see it not being stopped. You see these fact checkers in the social media, they're yelling at me because I write the word GR. There's a word. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this word because social media will say. Can we say groomer? I don't know.
Grooming.
So I said, oh my God. So social media is finding people saying a word groomer and getting them in trouble and putting them in Facebook jail. But they allow these pedophiles and all this other they're letting stuff happen, and it's too much. It's so over the top right now and so flagrant that if you're not helping, then you're becoming part of the problem. And that's how I see it. It's 100%.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I just can't. I'll start going on and on and on about this because it's so bad, and it makes my heart hurt.
Absolutely. What do you think some of the biggest misconceptions are? A lot of people think that when people speak out against adult entertainment being forced on children, that it's somehow speaking out against the LGBTQ community. How would you differentiate that?
That's a great point to bring up because I already brought up the half, nude people dancing in front of kids, and they're collecting dollar bills from kids' hands as these half nude people are. It's like, this seems like something that should be happening in adult entertainment with your checking IDs and it's 21 over. This is the stuff we're talking about being done in public spaces, in restaurants, in churches. Churches are having these kind of entertainment, and it's entertainment. I've seen the shows and it's entertaining, but it's adult entertainment. This goes on inside of bars where they're checking IDs. The LGBT community should kind of be ashamed for letting this go so far because it's going to end up really hurting you in the end because it's becoming so public and there's such an outcry that it's going to start hurting your own community. And if you don't see that already, then start looking around. The other thing about the community is the way they look at Christians or religious people. The LGBTQ community or whatever pluses they put, they see Christians, they see religious people as like an enemy. And I don't see that. I see it sometimes. It does happen. There's no blanket statements. There's never use the word never, or always never use the word. It's all that stuff. You know what I'm talking about? There are some bad folks in religion. There's some bad folks all around. We know that. And we also need to clean up our own backyards before we can start pointing our fingers. But right now, when I have the entire community or a lot of the community of LGBT people pointing at Christians or pointing at religious people or pointing at people of faith and saying, and Islam, Muslims are getting pointed at and saying that they're the enemies. And it's like, no, we're not the enemies. What we're saying is don't bring all this into the street. Don't do it in front of my kids. Don't do it in front of the public. Keep that in your own bedroom or keep that in your own adult entertainment areas. The Christians just want us to grow up and have these kids retain innocence. There is proven fact. And I studied mental health counseling for a graduate degree. And I've learned a lot of this stuff, even in psychology and all the courses I've taken, that child abuse and child trauma is categorized by actually being exposed to sexually explicit materials and exposure to, naked people. That it causes trauma in that child that they're going to have, develops anxiety, develops all kinds of things throughout their life. And so what's happening right now in public spaces that the LGBTQ community is saying is okay, and they're actually raising their hands and they're volunteering for it and they're making money from it in public spaces. It's wrong. It's causing a lot of mental health issues that you won't even know about for a while because this is just happening right now. You know, this has only been going on for what, 6 months, maybe a year, all this adult entertainment in public. So we don't know what this is. We don't know what this is going to do to these children. So you have to stop. And what it has to be is legal measures. We have to bring in politicians to make new laws. And I don't think that has to be that far. I mean, don't you people have their own feelings the way you have a conscience, right? We do, all do. You feel it in your gut and you say, this just doesn't seem right. Why can't we start listening to that little voice? Because that little voice is correct, you know, a lot. You know, I don't want to say always, but darn it. Because that little voice is like the whole universe. That little voice is Mother Nature. That little voice is God. Whatever you want to call that, I'm going to say it's God. I'm going to say I'm a believer, you know, I'm born again, whatever you want to name me and whatever labels you want to put on me. But I have seen things and I've been through things, and I've gotten here not because I read a book. I've gotten here because I walked that path. I've gotten here because I was in a hell. It was terrible. And I had to live through all that. And I met a lot of people along the way. And a lot of those people are still there. And I don't want to leave them behind. And I want you to talk to each other. I want you to hear what people are saying. And you're going to hear the truth, and it rings. Because truth will always ring. It'll ring in your ear. It sounds right. And when somebody's lying to you, or somebody's telling you something that's false, or somebody's telling you something that is going against humanity, is going against Mother Nature, it grates. It's like fingernails scraping down that chalkboard, and you feel it. You need to start listening to those voices. You need to start understanding that people all around you are grating their fingernails on that chalkboard. And when you hear those people and they're talking to you, and it doesn't sound so bad, and you go, wow, sounds pretty good to the ear. Why don't you just start listening to those people?
Exactly.
For whatever reason, there's not very many of those people left.
Yeah, common sense is unfortunately uncommon these days. One of the most disturbing things I've seen, and I would love your opinion on this, is that people don't seem to understand the difference between sexualizing children, so exposing children to adult sexual content, all of the above, and what adult entertainment is safe to do for adults. So we're not even talking about what type of sexual content or over-sexualizing children. We're talking about sexualizing children, full stop. Why would any safe adult want to do that? Why would any safe adult think that's okay? And when we speak out against it, it should go without saying that what we're doing is protecting children. Exactly to your point. This is shown, this is proven in science, in studies. First of all, it's inappropriate for children. Second of all, it changes their brain chemistry. It exposes them to things they're not ready for. It changes their perspective on relationship and adult sexuality. So learning to accept people for who they are is very different than understanding everything about an adult's sex life. So can you break that down a little bit more for us, for those who don't understand, or for those who want to call us anti-trans? What would you say about that type of exposure to children?
So as far as being transgender, you know, I mean, you can look at me and I definitely have gender dysphoria, or if the term transgender was a term that wasn't such an umbrella and so taken advantage of by people who want to do bad things. And it all adds up. So right now, the transgender label is so broad that it will include any adult who just puts their hand in the air and starts speaking to a therapist and says, the therapist in one session will say and sign a letter saying, okay, you're transgender, and they're allowed to get the hormone therapy. They can do all the other, they can do surgeries, whatever they want. That's one part of it. But then they also have the ability to get a driver's license with a female gender marker, which will allow them in any female space. And this is just going into one therapist and saying, I'm transgender. And they have a female marker on their driver's license. Any adult can do that. So can you imagine the adults who might take advantage of that? And this is what I'm talking about, is the problem that the term transgender is now so wide open and such an umbrella. And it's also to the point when a psychologist, and what I was going to be trained in was mental health counseling and working with people and trying to help people. They're just told that just you have to go along with it because you just have to listen to the patient, and they're going to self-disclose and tell you everything you have to tell you. And then they're transgender. You just have to, that's what they are. So why did I go, and why do people have PhDs? And we go through and we study DSM, which is this huge manual of all this diagnostic and stuff, and diagnostic statistical manual. DSM. It's not being taught because they're just saying they're transgender. As soon as I put my hand in the air and say, "Hi, I'm volunteer to be transgender," you're transgender. They're going to take advantage of it, and they're doing it right now. Now, if you want to be a drag queen, and drag queens are basically exactly like you would be an adult entertainment strippers. You go into a club and they dance and they're very erotic. Burlesque dancing, same thing. So if you want to say burlesque and being in a strip club and adult entertainment and drag queens, they are all of equal entertainment. They are very erotic. They're all sexualized, and any one of those type of dancing would stimulate people sexually. I mean, that's what it's for. It's made to do that. You can ask any burlesque dancer, when you're dancing burlesque, what is the purpose of you dancing? Is to get an erotic arousal out of the person that's watching, right? So if you're doing this in public and you're doing it in front of kids, you're exposing them to very adult contextual everything. You just don't do that. You don't take pornographic magazines and just let kids read them. They're in the shelves on purpose behind like you can't even see the covers, if you're in certain stores. And I just think it's getting worse and worse. Do you remember in 1958 Elvis Presley dancing? And I saw the movie, and I know the movie wasn't exactly right, but it was part of the dancing. And then there was a lot of things. But in 1958 on an Ed Sullivan show, everybody just freaked out. Now, yeah, it was very burlesque, wasn't it? He was dancing very erotically. It's true, but it was very toned down compared to twerking while playing on a presidential flute or something. I think we've taken it to the point where all of society is just so over-sexualized, and that's just drooling and dripping down all over all of society. And that's where the problem occurs, because now you're going to have a whole generation of kids growing up that are just going to be, I don't know, but they're going to be a lot less aware. They're going to be less cautious. I remember when I was growing up as a kid, we could play outside, when the street light, went on, you had to go home. I was in the country, so there was no street lights, but it was always like the joke, but it was about that time. For us, it was right at that twilight when it started kind of getting dark. You're like, oh, sun's gonna be down in about 20, 30 minutes. So we started running home because we knew if it was dark and we got home, we were getting a whip. It was 1970s. That's the way it was. And I just, why can't we just go back to those days when we trusted the children because they were aware things could get bad? Because I was in the country, there's bears right up on that mountain right over there. So we were very aware. But those bears are in the city too. There's predators. And they say that most of the stuff that happens harmful to children comes from like people who they know. It's from family members and stuff like that. Children, be aware that don't, just because somebody's wearing a clown outfit doesn't make them a good person. Just because somebody's dressed up and they're wearing rainbows and they got unicorns and all the stuff all around them doesn't mean they're glittery and it's not Disney. Just be aware that shiny things aren't always good for you, because there's a lot of knives out there that are really shiny and they're not very good. There's so much that need to be covered, and I'm not going to cover everything. I don't want to. I just want you to know that for all of those kids out there, you're growing up right now. You're not being told that there's danger out there. I want to let you know there's danger out there, but I also want you to let you know there's a lot of people that you don't know who love you. There's a lot of people out there who care about you, because without you, our world is going to end. Without a future, our world ends. And that if I want to be a grandfather someday, or I don't know, but I don't want this world to end. And if it means that you start paying attention to who's around you, and if you feel bad and you're anxious or you feel depressed or anything else is going on in your life, there are people that care about you, and they might be religious. They might not be, but just be open-minded. People care about you.
Yeah, it's a powerful message. It's so important for people to understand too, because these days children have so many role models. When they look at TV, all this different entertainment and content they're consuming, it's unfortunate that a lot of times the role models they choose or the role models that they're confronted with are not only inappropriate, but sometimes they're just straight up harmful. Again, for children, what might be okay for adults may be very harmful to a child. So when they see that type of sexualization being normalized, again, it's not age appropriate, full stop. Like children should not be exposed to it at all.
100%.
But they see that and they accept it as normal. So to your point, they're not going to grow up with the moral compass of knowing to respect their bodies, to respect themselves, to know when someone has good or bad intentions for them. Overall, it's a very predatory culture. And what's disgusting, what I just refuse to get past, is that this is being pushed on small children. Children shouldn't even have to think about adult sexual decisions.
It sounds like you've studied a lot of psychology and you're really into this, because this is something where when you study it and you study human development I studied it all the way from conception all the way to 25 years old. And they say that the human brain is not fully developed until you're 25. And it's in the books. It's been in the books forever. Now, why are we changing that? So why do you think we have like that 18-year age cutoff? Is like a developmental cycle at about the year, 18 years old. You're pretty close to being there, but 25 is it. So at 18, though, you're close. So we say, okay, at 18, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, and do this. We don't let the kids do that. So at 16, we also start allowing you to do some things. You can start driving a car. I think at 14, I think in some states you can get a job. I think that's what age it was when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure. But so we have these certain things you can do as a kid. You're not going to go in and watch the adult entertainment until you're at least 18 years old, anywhere around the country or around the world. If you're an adult and you're allowing that, why are you allowing it? Or are you actually promoting it? So if you're promoting it, so if you allow it, you just might not know, or you might not understand the psychology, but it really is. Go check it out. 25 years old, that kid is fully developed. You can say, hey, get out of my house, go get your own house. I'm done with you. And your kid will be able to handle it, because we're adults. We can handle stuff. We can handle abuse, to a point, and we can handle those challenges. So if you're allowing this as an adult, maybe you don't know, but please go research, go study, especially if you're a parent. Don't just nod your head and go, okay, my kid can go to a drag show and go watch pole dancers. Come on, do some research, please. If you're promoting it, why are you promoting it? It's part of that's part of the criminal element. That's giving access to criminals to kids. If you're promoting this, it's not you. I don't think you're a criminal, and I don't think you're bad. I just think you don't know. But if you're allowing this, that means you're letting someone into the area where kids are, where it's also a half-naked people and very sexual things going on with kids around. So if you're promoting this and it's your establishment, you're part of the problem. If you're part of an establishment that's like just for regular public, like a restaurant, you're not a bar you're just a regular restaurant. Are you kidding me? Why? Why do you want the criminals right with those kids and sexually dancing around? I'm not saying all the drag queens are criminals. I'm not saying that. I'm saying you're allowing access of criminals into the environment. Now, I've seen drag queens and I've been around them, and it's great entertainment and they're pretty funny and good folks, but you're opening up the doors to allow criminal elements into your spaces. And if you're the drag queens allowing that, look what you're doing. Yeah. If you're the establishments allowing that to happen, look what you're doing. You just have to open your mind up, and just not hard to see.
Absolutely. We're really encouraged to see really strong members of the community speak up against it. And I do think in this day and age, I just have a hard time accepting that anyone could hide beneath the guise of ignorance, because I think that ignorance is a choice these days. I think there's too much information. There's access to every published piece of information in the palm of your hands on this device we use. So I believe ignorance is a choice, but I also believe silence is compliance. So if you're specifically in the community, if you're facilitating these events, if you're taking your children to these shows, you're not only complying, you're facilitating. But the people who won't speak up against it, I think it will take all of us speaking up against it, because unfortunately it's so misconstrued and people are being brainwashed to think that this is tolerance and acceptance, and it's the opposite. It's abuse. So we appreciate individuals like you. We also interviewed Gays Against Groomers and their founder, and the work that they're doing. It's so important for this voice to be heard from people within the community, because again, there's a lot of misconceptions, and we are not here to judge any adult's sexual choices, lifestyle choices. That's on them. When you love children, that is a very different line in the sand. And I believe that all of us as adults have the responsibility to protect children. And if something's not right, speak up, take action, do something.
Speak up. Stop. The silence is compliance. I love that, because that's what they're doing. And just like you said, because this doesn't help the community, you're going to hurt yourselves, because people are getting mad. People inside the community are getting mad. That's why you had Gays Against Groomers. The community itself, internally, we're getting angry. And why? You open your eyes. Exactly. You're going to hurt yourselves. You got to stop it.
It's not representative of the LGBT community. It is not. But those who don't speak up against it, there can be a misconception on the other side as well, if there's a lot of people who think it is. So again, it's important to clarify these misconceptions. I think most, if not all of them, are very intentional. It's very divisive. It's very disuniting. And I believe, united we stand, divided we fall. So part of what we're doing in spreading this message, we're raising people's awareness so they can no longer say they don't know. We are breaking it down and unpacking it for them in all the ways possible. There are so many layers to this entire topic. And what we're doing is educating people, because knowledge is power if you do something with that knowledge. So it takes all of us saying it in different ways, giving different examples, being the voice. And it's all about protecting children. Full stop. That's what this is all about. We want to thank you for being here as well, and for being one of those voices. Again, it's so important that American heroes like you, that patriots, that people who care, speak up and take action. We have a lot of supporters, but not everybody is willing to use their platform to speak up for what's right. They're afraid of being censored or suppressed. And yes, that is a huge issue that we and many other people face, but it's what's right. It's what's needed right now. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for this mission. You're saving people's lives every day. Thank you.
We certainly hope so. So tell us a little bit about what you got going on and what's coming next for you.
I've got a nonprofit also, and I work with veterans. And so I'm working with veterans doing forging, knife forging, and we do blacksmithing. Sometimes we work on a motorcycle. We just do like different mechanical things, and we just do like hard, tough work. That's why the forging is so awesome. And then after we're done, we, have some drinks and bonfire, and then we just talk. And almost every time during those talks around the bonfire, conversations start going about military and about home life and about civilian, about transition from military to civilian, and all the stuff that we get hangups about, and it goes into trauma sometimes, and it gets into the past, and it turns into a really good healing experience. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to give these guys an opportunity to do some real hard work that's fun, and they end up with a bunch of knives or something, and then talk about stuff. It's like that group therapy thing, which helps, because individual therapy is good, but the group therapy and just sitting there and talking with your friends, don't even call it group therapy, but it's all therapy. When you walk barefoot on the earth and your feet are on touching the grass, that's therapy. You're grounding yourself on the earth and you're seeing nature. You're breathing that great air in. It's therapy. So stop thinking therapy is bad. So, and that's the stuff I try to talk to veterans about, is the fact that going to therapy is sometimes good. You can do it yourself. Just walk out in the woods, go breathe that deep air in, and it's therapy. Come on, man. But talking with each other, it's like friend therapy. Then never underestimate the value of your, relationships with your friends, especially the old military friends. And we get away from that because as we leave the military, we all kind of go our separate ways and we lose contact. And so I'm trying to get guys back into that contact. We think we have the contact on the social media BS, but we don't. It's social media is not contact. Social media is not social at all. It should be called anti-social media, because it's pulling us away from each other so far through these digits, and it's also fake that you don't. It's not the same. So if I want to try to build these actual, campfires, so we need to move away from these digital fires, which has been going on since like the 60s and all through the internet age and TV. That like what we're doing right now, this is a digital fireplace. This is not, we're doing some good words back and forth, but we're not going to get, there's nothing from this unless people can take these words in and then live the experience or see the experience and feel it themselves. So all the words I've said to you right now, you're going to need to take all this in and then bare feet, walk out in the woods and sit for a while and just talk to the trees and saying, hey, when Cheif Beck was talking to me, did that sound right? Did it ring true? And if you ask the trees, and none of this sounds all crazy, but if you ask the trees and you're sitting there with bare feet on the ground and talking to the trees and looking back, hey, tree, it sounded pretty right, didn't it? And the tree's going to give you some answers. It's not the tree. It's like the earth. It's you. It's all in you. Everything's in it. We have it all, And so what you're doing is you're talking to a deep down place. It's way deep in you. It's all of your knowledge, all your wisdom, and it's the wisdom of the ancestors. And it's basically telling you, if you really look deep inside of yourself and it's quiet and all you're doing is talking to the trees, it's just you and a tree, it's going to tell you. Now, by me talking a little bit about this, I'm giving you a little clue into who I am. I'm ordained. I'm ordained minister. I'm also a Christian. I also, the Gospel of Thomas, there's a whole bunch of other Gospels. There's things that were happening, during the time of Christ and there's times that happen all throughout history that if you read all of it and you put it all together, you can come to some pretty neat conclusions. And the conclusions that I've come to is that I don't need a church. I don't need a building. I don't need, somebody in a pulpit pointing down at me and telling me what to do. Because a lot of times they have their own agendas and they have things going on, and that's like the government, same thing. And this is all going to go to a point in a second, but it's here, we have it. And the problem is we have so much noise in our ears. We have so much going on. We all ate the forbidden fruit, the apple, think about it. We have so much noise coming into our heads. We have so much vibration and frequency at discoherent frequencies. It's not the natural frequencies, and there are natural frequencies, and we know what they all are. And we're off tune, and it's those nails on the chalkboard. It's that really terrible noise, and that terrible noise is coming in your ears 24/7. And if you sleep with your phone right on the nightstand right next to you, you have it all the time. And it's bombarding you. And these kids are getting bombarded by it too. In the old days, I only got to watch cartoons on Saturday morning. And you could watch cartoons as long as you had milk in the bowl, And so we kept putting more cereal on it. You kept watching cartoons and trying not to get any milk out of it. It was like a little trick we had. But it was so innocent back then. And these kids are not growing up with that innocence, Yeah, we had Wile E. Coyote getting smashed by rocks and stuff. But I don't remember ever throwing any big boulders down on top of any of my friends. I think these kids are seeing stuff on these televisions with 1,000 channels of shit, and it's all garbage, and it's all coming in at them. And what is it doing to them? So these kids are getting it from almost the time they're born, all these frequencies and all this stuff on TV and all these things coming at them. And it's not all good, because not all people have good intentions. Not all people have bad intentions either. But if these kids are ingesting all this information over and over again, almost 24 hours a day, their entire lives up until a point, there are programs that we have in the military. There are programs that we use. And we can pretty much convince you to do anything we want you to do. And I know it's going to go into the conspiracy theory world, but they've admitted to it and they've shown it. And there's like a few examples of MK Ultra is what I'm talking about. What do you think is happening to these kids when they're really young? And why do you think, and the generation has already passed? So the people I'm talking, I keep saying kids, and I'm in my 50s, late 50s I'm up there. And so when I'm talking about these generations that have grown up with all this stuff, those are the generations possibly that are having children, and they're the ones that are going to these bars and adult entertainment for their kids. So if they grew up with it on TV their entire life, and now these younger adults, they're 21, 25, 30 years old, and they were basically MK Ultra through their entire lifetime. They didn't see Elvis Presley and the hoopla and everything that happened at Ed Sullivan, how bad it was. What they grew up with was twerking and these videos on TV with these very sexually explicit, that these were little kids growing up that have now grown up with that. Now they're all 30 years old. And now you young adults, you grew up with this, and it's not normal. It's too much. And now you're taking it further. Now what you saw on TV was not Elvis Presley doing his hips on Ed Sullivan. What you saw on TV was really explicit. And now you're taking it one step further, and you're taking your children to the live shows of this. So does all that make sense? That I don't know. I think I'm spinning around in circles because I keep going back to the same thing and what I'm doing, because it all comes together. It all adds together.
Yeah.
We have the digital stuff in our face 24 hours a day, and there's no more campfires. We're not doing person to person. We're not talking to trees anymore. Go out and talk to the trees, darn it. So I think that we've been an entire generation of people have seen this television is kind of a trick on words. But can you imagine if you started going through the vocabulary and look at how many tricks we have on words and all these words that line up, because they accustomed to us to things, it's the same thing that I'm talking about. When you hear it over and over and over and over and over, and you have it in your face all the time, you're going to believe it because you hear the lies enough. So it all goes back to the same thing. What I'm trying to do for veterans is break us off that, to get us off the matrix. The matrix is just the digits. It's all it is. The matrix is this screen. The matrix is your TV and all those channels. The matrix is the internet. If you just watching it and participate in it, you're in it. And if that's all you consume, that's all you do. So get out of the matrix, go out in the woods, step off of it, unplug from the matrix. You can go back into it, go for it, but get out in the woods, I'm trying to do that as much as I can, and unplugging people and saying, hey, making some knives and riding the motorcycles and doing fun stuff, and then having talks and having real campfires, conversations. So get off the digital fires. It doesn't work. You're getting nothing from it. And start actually lighting a fire and be around it. Get warm with real fire. Go in the woods, unplug from the matrix. It's killing you, and you're taking your kids into it. Even worse. What's next? I don't know.
Love everything you said. A couple things I want to follow up on. I want to continue with that conversation because grooming is something we talk about a lot, and short version, it's all a form of that word, right? Real quick, before we continue, what's the name of your nonprofit and how can people find it? Do you have the website?
The nonprofit is called Mindful Valor, and our website is crappy, and I had somebody that volunteered to help me with my website, and I totally messed it up because a lot of stuff happened. I was on Joe Rogan, and he talked about the website, and then somebody volunteered. He's totally helped me and all these people, but I'm doing a lot of it by myself. So it's like a one-person nonprofit where everything is me doing it, and Craig was there a long time ago, and I'm not getting everything. So my website is crappy. So don't even worry about the website. If you want to do something, just get a hold of me or get a hold of Craig. So I do a little bit of social media here and there, but this is the only way to do it. You have to fix your own backyard. And what I'm trying to do is fix my own backyard. And so if I have veterans out there, and I have a couple of veterans I've already done it with, that they're working on their backyards. And so I just send them money out of my nonprofit, And so we can't do this internationally or nationally or the whole state. Everybody just tries to do like Wounded Warrior Project. You can't fix everything with one Band-Aid, And so it has to be every backyard at a time. And so it took me a long time to get my own backyard cleaned up and halfway decent, where I'm not embarrassed. I'm embarrassed by a lot of my past, and there's my dog. Okay, Sarge. So there's things that I did. That's my service dog. He's cool. Okay, get outside. The UPS guy just pulled up. So there are things I did in my past, and I want you to know that people make mistakes, and I walked off the path for a long time, but maybe I didn't walk off the path. That was my path the whole time. I had to go to the gates, and I had to like rattle gates, and I walked around down there, and I saw everybody, and I met them, and I love those people. They're great people. And like I said, if you read the Gospel of Thomas, you're going to see that everything is everything is in me. Everything is in all. And talking Jesus said it. So it's all of us, and he gave that to all of us. And so I don't see any evil people. I don't see any bad people. I see people that have been led astray. I see how I walked off the path. I see how I lost myself, and people just understand there's no such thing as an evil person. They might do some bad things. You know what I mean? And I want to help as many people as I can, because I'm back into a place right now where my backyard is clean. I'm ordained, and I'm trying to put out some good word about where I went and what I learned along the way. I can't get into all that right here because it gets pretty, it's thick, and it takes a long time to talk about it. I will tell you that book about me, there was a book written about me called Warrior Princess. And that was a psychologist that wrote that book, a lot of it. And she was basically giving me therapy and writing a book, and then published a book. And I tried to stop the book from being published, and none of my friends know that. And I tried, because I had lawyers, and I lawyered up, and I fought the book, and I tried to get it canceled, and I tried everything. And I'm in debt from a book about my life. And I'm telling you, psychologists, they have PhDs, and they know your mind. That's what they do. They learn everything, and if they want to twist your mind up and get you doing something, and if you're already in a bad place because you have trauma and you have whatever else going on in your life, like I did, and I'm telling you, I had trauma from the SEAL teams. I had trauma like we all do, getting blown up. You're going to get some trauma. Getting shot at, you're going to get trauma. Shooting other people, you're going to get trauma. And it's like the most horrible thing you can ever do is ever take a life. And that's also scars on me, and scars that I will never heal. And, Jesus is going to forgive me, I hope, for everything that I did. And that's what I'm fighting right now. And that's my mission. That's it, is to be a witness, is to tell you what it's like down there and where you're being led astray. I'm not going to say hell, because it's not hell. I'm going to tell you it's the most padded, comfortable place. You're getting hugged all the time. Everything's love. Everything is flowers. Everything is rainbows. It's the most beautiful place you've ever been. It's not hell. It's not flames. And that's the thing that people misunderstand. I want to tell you, I'm a witness that I had more love bomb and more love and more rainbows and more glitter than any human being should have had to suffer. And they did that on purpose because I was a SEAL, because they knew if they could get me, they could get anybody. And so there's huge effort to get me, and they've rainbowed me up. And no, it's, and I'm not saying rainbows and all the good stuff, and I'm saying LGBTQ is bad. I'm just saying that there are psychologists, and there's something going on where they're doing something. Not everybody's gay. Not everybody's trans. Not everybody's a lesbian. Not everybody has to be or wants to be. But if you have somebody who's confused, and you have somebody who has trauma, and they start throwing it at you, and it's all you're getting is, oh, you're just living through torment in your own head. And then suddenly you're getting hugged, and suddenly you're like, everything's comfortable, and you start feeling better. You're like, wow. So, okay, this isn't so bad. It's comfortable. I'm sitting on a couch now instead of an army cot. I'm not living in blood like I've lived with my whole life and feeling like I did something wrong. They were giving me love that I never really got. And it was like, man, it's confusing. Now imagine I'm 40 something years old and that's happening to me. Imagine if you were like a 13-year-old and your mom and dad, or your dad is giving you a whooping because you're not emptying the cat litter or whatever's going on in your life. You're getting yelled at and you're a kid. And then suddenly you walk down the street and there's this really cool place. Hey, it's nice. Hey, it's a church. I got to trust those people because they're really nice people, and they're dancing. And suddenly you walk in there and there's rainbows, and there's this girl, and she's big, and she's having fun. It's like a clown, It's like, I see clowns on. It's fun, It's rainbows and glitter. And what kids don't like that? You can put, glitter and rainbows on a turd, and it's good. Kids are going to like it. That's what they do at Target and Walmart. They just rainbow up turds and sell it to you for $10, and it all comes from China. It's weird, We're all being sold this consumption, consume. Sorry, I got off the track. But you can rainbow up a turd and it's dancing around in a church and you're going to trust it because it's in a church, and then it's rainbows and everything. It's awesome. And then, not everybody needs that, and that's happening. And so that's also part of children being led astray into something that they're not really part of. And they get made into that. That sounds like a type of conversion to me. Now, if that kid is having trauma and has a really tough time and meets someone who's just like, hey man, I've been through the same thing. It's a tough world out there. And let me talk to you about some stuff. And you start talking to them about the DSM. You start talking about anxiety. You start talking about trauma. You start talking about adjustment disorder. You start talking about, there's a whole bunch of different things. I can go through the whole DSM if you want to, but that's what we're supposed to do as psychologists, as mental health counselors, as psychiatrists. We're supposed to challenge these kids. We're supposed to challenge these adults. This 46-year-old walking in your office and saying, hey, I got this and this going on. I got that going on and this going on. And I might harm myself because I just don't want to be here anymore. And then a psychologist just says you're trans. Does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, it makes sense to me that it's intentional, meaning it's not a natural process. It's not something someone would necessarily convince a child to do that had their best interests. To me, and I'm, not a parent, like I really don't have a specific dog in this fight. But here's the thing. No safe adult is going to try to convince a child to do something that's inappropriate and unsafe for them. What it comes down to me, it's the opposite of what we should be teaching children, which is self-acceptance and love. And you're so strong and you're powerful and you got this and you should accept yourself. I saw an analogy, and it's a pretty extreme one, but I think it applies, where when a child is anorexic, we don't affirm that to them. We don't encourage that. We say, no, you're beautiful the way you are. No, you're healthy. You weren't born in the wrong body. No, you are perfect. So encouraging this dysmorphia, there's a lot of mental health concerns there, but just as a general statement, it's not necessarily empowerment to teach a child that they were born in the wrong body or that they have to change themselves physically, surgically, in order to accept themselves, in order to be happy with themselves, or in order to be accepted by others. So again, this has nothing to do with sexual preferences, because again, that is an adult thing. That is a totally different topic to me. What are we teaching our children if we're telling them they have to change themselves in order to be accepted? We should just analyze these little layers that are part of this whole ideology that's being pushed on children. It's harmful, straight up.
I mean, here's the thing from the psychologist, mental health counselor point of view, is that we go to university for a lot of education and we learn all these different criteria, all these different symptoms and signs, and we work with this. We learn how to speak to people at a level where it's like, if you move your foot, it could change a conversation. You know what I'm saying? We train. It's a pretty big deal. And we take pride in how much we train and how intense it is, it's not taking us lightly. But then when a kid walks in your office and whatever's going on in her life, and it might be a young girl who's kind of a tomboy, she has older brothers, and her older brothers pick on her and her father, whatever's going on in her life, but it's this tomboy, is she trans? Is she not trans? As someone walking into my office, I should just have my DSM open or my mind open and saying, let's talk. Now, if she says she's trans, like on that first session, and the reason she's saying that is because they're coached. They actually have these folks called trans buddies who will actually coach kids who are on a trans journey, on a trans path. And so if this tomboy girl has been a tomboy now for most of her life because she has older brothers and hand-me-down clothes, and I know this happens a lot because I got hand-me-down clothes. I don't know it anymore, but we grew up, different in the 70s. We grew up in poverty and poor, not poverty, but poor. And so there's a lot of hand-me-downs. And if you had a lot of older brothers and a girl, you're going to get hand-me-down boy clothes. That's what she's wearing. And one session, and you're trans, she was coached into it. So now she's sitting there and she does all this stuff. And now you're on a transgender path. And every time she goes to the therapist, that therapist is going to be giving her positive motivation, everything towards becoming more and more trans, not challenging her, saying, hey, what's going on in your life? And they're told that they have to encourage more and more transness, if you want to call it that, or more and more exhibition of the opposite gender markers and everything else and everything. And it's being taught in universities. And I was taught this at Alfred University here in New York. And I ended up quitting the entire course because I couldn't take it anymore. And I was at a breaking point. And I just said, you're teaching hate. And you're mixing in all of this ideology is LGBTQ. The sexual identity is mixed with gender identity, and then is mixed with racial and social and everything else. It's CRT. It's basically saying that one group of people is above another group of people, and they should be treated differently in order to make them more equal or something. You have to study, and I'm not an expert on this. All I kept hearing over and over again was how evil the white race was, and then how more evil men were, and how more evil white male straight men. They're like they're the top of the evil empire, all of them. That's what's being taught at universities, at Alfred University here in New York. That's what they're teaching me. And if you're a white male straight person, you cannot speak about any of these issues. Otherwise, you're further oppressing all the people you've oppressed your entire life. And so imagine being a boy growing up in that type of environment where you're just being told, oh, you're straight and you're evil and you're going to grow up and be nothing but evil. And you did this and your whole history did it and you're going to continue to do it. All the laws, all the structures, everything. You did it. And this is just little boy. So what's his future? And then he might be gay. I don't know. And then he's wearing some effeminate clothing. And now he has a chance to be a girl and not be that most evil empire guy. That could be a way. I'm telling you, there's so many ways that psychology can be used and manipulated to do this. And this is what's happening. And no sane adult, just like you said earlier, non-criminal adult, if you're just an adult person, if you're a psychologist and you're convincing kids to do this, it doesn't make any sense. That seems kind of, criminal-like.
Yeah.
It's gonna be bad. I'm telling you, that happened to me. And I was in my 40s. I was out of the Navy. I had adjustment disorder. I was military to civilian. I'll tell you all my DSM symptoms and all that. If I knew this stuff back then, I know it now. And I knew what they were doing to me if I had this knowledge. Everybody has adjustment disorder if you change your job. Everybody has adjustment disorder if you have a divorce. If you break up your boyfriend or girlfriend, you can have adjustment disorder. And you're going to have it just slightly, and you can do this, do that. Here's what we can give you to kind of help you out. And it's not pharmaceutical. It's going to be some things we can tell you to do. It's like some little tricks on the brain that say, hey, take your mind off it. Do this. Go out and see some friends, have some fun. There's all kinds of stuff you can do it. And also, I had anxiety. I had depression. I had PTSD. I had this trauma, in my life. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on. But as soon as a psychologist saw me wearing a dress, I was in a transgender label. It might have been the first one. It was like 10 years ago. And then I had to suffer through all of that, mental health, duress, all of the other stuff was now covered up. Nothing was solved. I didn't heal. I had nothing done. No health, no mental health because they said I was transgender because I'd wear a dress, here and there. And it was, I can get into it some other time, but I'm a little, whatever. I don't care. I have a fiance and she's wonderful and it doesn't mean anything if you just wear some female clothing once in a while. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you good. It doesn't make you trans. It doesn't make you gay. It doesn't make you straight. It just makes you a little whatever. Guys wear goofy socks sometimes. Just do that, I got tricked. The psychology part of it is what gets me. And the thing is, all the children are being taught this right now. And that's what we should find horrible because any adult, just like you said, if you're participating in this, you're encouraging it or you're allowing it, you're part of the problem. These kids should not be exposed to any of this.
Yeah, they shouldn't be forced to pick an identity based on a gender or based on a sexual preference when they're a child. It's also an interesting concept, again, just evaluating it psychologically. Why are we blurring the lines? Why are we trying to remove people's identity? Why are we trying to blur out the divine feminine and the divine masculine power that people can balance within themselves? Why are we trying to slap labels on people and keep them in a box or make them make these life-altering decisions at such a young age? These are all rhetorical questions.
Yeah.
But when you simplify things to the point of logic, it's just interesting how people don't seem to think it through long term. Again, specifically when we're talking about children being confronted with these decisions they should not and do not understand, being presented as if this will somehow solve their mental health disorders. I love what you said about, you know, if there's something, if the kid is struggling, again, this is difficult for adults, but if a child is struggling and we think that changing what they call themselves or the way they look is going to fix that for them, it's not even a Band-Aid. I don't know what to call that, but that's not a solution. What are we actually doing to address what's going on with this child? Why don't they feel safe and secure within themselves, in their body, with the people around them? Why are they struggling to change themselves so drastically in order to be accepted or in order to accept themselves? So again, that's a difficult struggle for any person, for any adult. For a child and for an adult to make a decision like that medically or otherwise on behalf of a child, you know, we talk about grooming a lot, and this is how we describe it, and we oversimplify it for the sake of making it readily understood to those who would misinterpret it. Grooming is desensitizing a child to harmful or inappropriate behaviors and persuading or convincing them to do things they would not otherwise do. That very oversimplified summary tends to highlight a lot of things going on in our society. Would a child do that if they weren't otherwise persuaded? If they weren't already desensitized to it? If it wasn't already not just normalized, but really shoved in their face in all these various forms? Or would they be playing outside with sticks? I loved doing boy stuff. I loved wearing boy clothes. I didn't like pink as a child. Like, that doesn't affirm or deny anybody's identity or sexuality. It's sad and it's harmful. And what's most disturbing are the long lasting repercussions of that.
Yeah. So the other day I was on social media, which I can't stand, and I can't wait till the day I can get rid of all of it. But I wrote cowardly wokeness about what was going on in some of it, and somebody challenged me and said, "What is cowardly wokeness?" So in my head, I was like, it was the wokeness and how far we've taken this. And I say it's cowardly because it was like it's always hidden. It's always like it's so blatantly hypocritical to me because I've done so much psychological study and all this stuff, analyzing myself. For me, it's easy to see the hypocrisy, but it's hidden so well that it tricks the normal bystander, and they say, "No, that's good." So it's like this. It's this. And I couldn't really define cowardly wokeness, and so I talked to my fiance, and she graduated in women gender studies and a whole bunch of other degrees about everything we're talking about. She's also gone through a lot on her own that she could answer everything that I've talked to about right now probably better than I could, because she wrote a definition of cowardly wokeness. I just think it was perfect. And I think this should be used because it answers all of it. Cowardly wokeness, using aggressive tactics to force a narrative while simultaneously projecting virtue. A societal bully, one who violently and grotesquely forces their agenda to dominate the mainstream culture in an attempt to demoralize society. They use the machines to manipulate the minds of the majority who oppose such moral negligence. So they're using machines right now. That's social media. They're using the news. They're using Disney. They're using all of it. They're basically all of the machines of humanity for whatever reason. That's why when they fact check, they're going to fact check this, and they're going to ding you guys for even saying a few words because we're fighting the words we're saying. But then they say we're the bad guys. So all the machines of humanity are basically fighting what we're saying right now. Why is that? Who controls the earth right now? Do you think it's God, Jesus? Do you think it's goodness? Do you think heaven is reigning on earth right now? Or do you think it's the opposite? That's also rhetorical. So if the opposite was also ruling this earth, do you think that they would have control over most of the things that you're absorbing? Most of the like corporate entities and this social media and all these television sets and all the movies and everything that's bombarding your kids with right now? Who controls all of it, do you think? Do you think it's God who feels good for you and the goodness? Or do you think it's a evil entity that is destruction and wants this to be bad? It's what's going on right now. That's the machines to manipulate the minds of the majority who oppose such moral negligence. So we're being talked into the opposite because of this, and we can't let that happen. Watch out! There's all kinds of wolves out there. I'm a sheepdog. The depravity is fed day in and day out, and any outside source of nutrients is strictly prohibited. And the outside nutrients, we're talking about your brain, we're talking about your spirit, not just your body, what you ingest, the food you eat right now. Is it processed, or are you walking in the woods and you're foraging? If you're eating only processed food, you eat McDonald's, you're gonna be unhealthy. If you're ingesting in your spirit, inside of your mind, in your eyes and your ears, if everything you're listening to and watching is bad, is depravity, is immoral, you know when it's immoral because you're going to know that you don't want children to see that. You leave it for adults because we can figure it out. But we're letting the kids watch this stuff. It's decaying their brains slowly by slowly. You are what you eat, therefore you will eat the ideas we feed you until they become your own. This is all about the cowardly wokeness, because the cowardly wokeness, they own it all. And they're spoon feeding you all of this every day, day in and day out. That's the MK Ultra. You're almost all society right now is on their side. There's very few of us who know what we know because we're the only ones that see it right now, because it's so shaped in this beautiful rainbow. It's so shaped into this beautiful, sometimes a religious cloak. I'm telling you, it's all around us, and we can't let it. If you know the truth, and I think that the gospel, I had to grab this real quick. The Gospel of Thomas says it right here. Jesus said, I am the light that is over all things. I am all. From me all came forth, and to me all attained. Split a piece of wood. I am there. Lift up the stone, and you will find me. Everywhere around us is Jesus. Everywhere around us is God. Everywhere around us is Muhammad. Whatever you follow, there is goodness. You have to find it. It's in people. You have to sit around their actual fire. Get off of this digital stuff and start meeting people and find this. You're going to find the light if you look for the light. You're going to find dark if you look for the dark. And right now, everyone out there is looking for the dark. And people out there, good people, are promoting the dark because you're bringing your kids to these places. You're allowing the dark because you're bringing your kids to these places. You're letting your kids watch it on TV. You're letting your kids play those games on the Xbox that are all destruction. Why is every game on Xbox about beheading and shooting and maiming? And you can add more blood and gore. And you're letting your kids do this? You're allowing the evil inside of your own house. If you're a good person, you need to see this. If you're a good person, you're allowing this, you're allowing the dark in your house, that's going to make you dark. Do you understand that? And this is the thing that we're not talking about. And there's not very many people I know out there that are the real light. And I know that I've met a few SEAL team guys that I know are the light. And Craig is one of them. And Jason Gardner up there in Washington State, he's one of the light. He's a beacon. And if you start finding those beacons and you speak to them, you're going to know by how they speak to you. Because everything they say to you is going to lift you up. Everything you say to you is going to ring like they're freaking church bells in your ears. Everything they say is going to be like that. They're going to say, and everything they do is what they say. It's not hypocritical. Even one word is hypocritical. And that's the difference. When I watch the politicians, I watch the Democrats and the Republicans. Why is there so much hypocrisy? Why don't I believe either party? I'm an independent. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. And I encourage every person out there, if you vote, to leave both parties and become an independent because this is all part of the human trafficking. This is all part of everything we're talking about. It's politics. We need better people up there. What would happen if every person that votes was independent? The Democrats would go, we can't count on our base. We don't know who's going to vote for us. And the Republicans would go, we can't count on our base. We don't know who they're going to vote for. So they have to work really hard to win all of us over. Can you imagine that? If political parties were outlawed for the civilian, for the populace, we the people can't be part of a party, all the politicians up there would be really worried, and they would have to really work for all of our votes. If they went one direction really far left, or they went really far right, and you all know what I'm talking about, it would never happen again. Right now, every one of you that's registered for a political party, you're part of the problem. You're part of the reason why the pendulum of the political party has swung so hard both ways in the last 10 or 15 years, because you're part of a party. You're part of the problem. We, the people, have the power. We outnumber them. We have more money than them because we're the ones. What? All those billions they sent to Ukraine is our money. If you weren't part of that party, they would not be able to send that money because they'd be worried. Think about it. All of this is connected. I'm telling you right now. I don't see very many lights out there, beacons. I look at the Senate, I look at the Congress. I don't see very many beacons. I found a bunch of them in the SEAL teams. I think because a lot of us have been shot and blown up, and we live in pain every day. I'm sitting here with back braces on and my legs, and I've got so many injuries. We live in constant pain. We've been through the pain and suffering. We've lived through so much agony and seeing our friends dying on the battlefield. Craig knows exactly what I'm talking about. You were there on Roberts Ridge. Pretty sure. But sometimes TBI, dang, and I can't stand blaming some of my injuries. My memory's gone. I've had so many explosions that when they test my brain, a lot of it's gray. Some of it's black. It does not work. I've rewired a lot of it, and you can do that. And it's called neuroplasticity. And I'll tell you, all the SEAL team guys out there, don't accept your loss of memory. You're in the military, not just the SEALs, all the military folks. Do not accept your memory loss. That's TBI. Do not accept your anger and your outburst, your impulsiveness. That's TBI. The thing is you can help yourself. And I've rewired everything. I feel like my brain is working like I was in high school about. That's how far back I've rewired my brain. It's possible. And I tell you what, there's a bunch of guys that know how to do it. Boone Cutler, he's an Army guy. Sorry, Army guy. No, I'm just kidding. But Army guy, Boone Cutler, look him up. He's written a bunch of books on it, and he's done it himself also. There's a lot of folks out there. So, God, I went way off the topic, but the beacons, we need them back in the Senate. We need them back in Congress, and the only way we can do it, the parties own all those folks. The only way we can do it is the American people have to do it. I told you the secret. The secret is do not be registered for any party, even independents, any party. You have to be 100% independent, no party affiliation. And then what happens is they can no longer hold these BS primaries. They'll have to go straight to this bigger general election, and then they'd have to have another runoff. They do this in Scotland. They do it in a lot of countries. What they're doing right now with the primaries is shutting off half the population that allow all the extremists to win each party's vote. So if all I can do is vote on a Republican because I'm a Republican, then I'm going to vote for the strongest Republican. Who's that going to be? That's going to be the most radical Republican. That's going to be farthest right, right? So that's the guy that ends up going against the Democrats. If I'm a Democrat, I'm going to vote for the best Democrat I can because he's the most Democrat. And so that's going to be very far out left, right? I mean, left, correct? And so what we have now is all the extremes in politics right now. We have the furthest left and the furthest right because of these primaries, because of you people who are part of the political parties. You're giving them power. You people, American people who are registered voters for any party have done this to the American public 100%. The reason we are so extreme right now is because of the registered voters. Think about it. I majored in political science and bachelor's, and I ran for U.S. Congress. I know what I'm talking about.
I agree with you 100%, Cheif Beck. And, that's, a lot of our problems in this country is coming from that. And, in order to do that, people do need to stand up and, use their voice and make their votes count. It takes all of us to do it. It's not just an individual thing, it's coming together, uniting. as one, and, we love this country. Like people like you and I, we signed up for the military.
Yep.
We volunteered for this type of stuff. So, we really need to come together because we really want to see the success of this country. And the future of that country is the children. And one thing I did want to bring up is you speak a lot about standing up against bullies. What is your message for the people that want to hurt the children?
For anyone out there that wants to hurt the children, you're a bully. That's all there is to it. And every bully I've ever met always ended because there's always somebody stronger. That stronger person just hadn't caught up to you yet. And I guarantee you, if you're harming children, we're going to catch up to you. Guarantee you. And we are stronger. I guarantee you.
Awesome. I appreciate that, Cheif Beck. Kim, did you have anything that you'd like to ask Cheif Beck before we start wrapping this up?
Where can people follow you? What's your main platform where they can stay in touch?
The main platform I use right now is Instagram, just because it's easy and I can just blast something out real quick. And I can't stand social media, but I have to use it because of this type of stuff, is that I do want to be part of the fight, because if I don't, I told you, I feel that I am a witness, and if anybody has read the Bible, you know what that means. It's something extremely important. And me saying that doesn't make it fact. It just means that that's a position that I am doing. That means that I will take this very seriously. I feel like I'm like Johnny Cash when he wore black for the rest of his life. If you've seen when I went on Joe Rogan in the beginning of June, I wore this shirt. It was a flannel shirt, purple and black, Purple Heart. It's like my Johnny Cash. If I do any, public appearances or anything, you're going to see me in some type of a purple and black flannel probably. And I don't like the color purple because it is the color of royalty and it really makes me angry. And I'm kind of stuck with it. So I don't know what to do. I don't know. Should I change my uniform and just make it black and black flannel? But the thing is I want you to know that this is very important to me. And you will never, ever see me anything even closely rainbow or unicorn or effeminate or anything, because I feel like Johnny Cash did. It's so important that my whole life is dedicated to it, is to making sure these kids are safe, is even every stitch of clothing I wear, every word I speak, and every action I take has to be towards this goal. And that's how serious I take it. I don't want everybody out there that knows me in the past. And if you see photos of me, dressed up, whatever, in magazines, even very fashionable and looking, kind of cute, I think it disgusts me now if I look at those pictures, because anybody can dress up. Anybody can put on, makeup and put on a smile and do whatever. The real work is inside, and then I did nothing of that. So it disgusts me that I had so many people trying to fix the outside of me and actually destroying the inside. And that was psychologists, and that was mental health people. And that was, every friend of mine. Jim Campbell, thanks for almost punching me in the face, because I deserved it. Every friend of mine who just agreed with me and didn't kind of challenge me, you should have challenged me. I was so wrong. And I think that's a problem also, is that we see challenges like I was getting as like a phobia, or you're Nazi. They throw this word out, you're a fascist, because I got challenged. And I said, and yeah, there are. And I'm sorry to anybody in the military or anybody in the SEALs or anybody in America overall, is like anything I did wrong or anything I did to cause any damage, and I know I did, I'm trying everything I can do to make up for it. Every day I live, I beat myself up, You don't know how bad. Well, some of you probably do know, because if you know me well enough, in Sri Lanka when I lost the AK-47, how bad I just tormented myself, and it hurt you guys. I won't let that happen. Yeah, I lost an AK-47, and I hurt my platoon. I was a chief, and I caused damage to my platoon because I punished myself so bad. And we have to sometimes forgive ourselves. And we have to understand that God forgives us too. You know, I forgive myself for the last like almost 10 years of crazy. I forgive myself, but I don't forgive my actions that I took, and I'm trying to make up for those actions. That's how I'll give it to you. That I do find forgiveness in my heart for my actions the last 10 years. But I don't forgive some of my actions. I never did anything in front of kids. God, that would have I would have ended myself before that would ever happen. That's how bad I see it. I was in public though, so I guess.
You know, I want to give you this message though, if it's any consolation, because I have huge respect. I have never served.
Trying to help.
Absolutely. Like, I know that saying things like "thank you for your service," you know, I know that can be lost on heroes like you guys who have done so many things for the country. I know sometimes people don't like being called heroes. I say that because you guys are the ones that are on the front lines, and you're the ones making the sacrifices and doing what you think is right for the country. So when you come back here, sometimes your perspective can change when you understand what's really going on and when you see the bigger picture. But ultimately, you were there for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I see this a lot as well with our organizations. We have, you know, a lot of veterans who are sick of what have happened in the past, and they may feel guilt or shame. And a lot of that is a big part of PTSD, the shame, the guilt, the things that you struggle with. But what I also see, and what I see is really beautiful, is this aspect of redemption, that no matter what you may or may not feel good about in your past, doing what's right now matters for the children, for the world, for America, for the people. Doing what's right today matters. It's a beautiful form of redemption. I'm seeing a lot of people are able to sort of put that behind them and focus on what matters today. And it is helping other people. It's helping people heal. It's helping people find the truth. And it's also being that example of strength. So, you know, I don't know your past, and I'm definitely not here to judge you. I'm here to thank you for what you've done. But
I'm a fighter. I'm going to keep fighting.
I'm here to thank you for being in this fight, specifically for supporting what's right, for protecting children, and for being this fearless voice. Thank you also for your support for our mission and for standing with us. There are not enough people who have the courage to even speak up, much less take action. So if it's any consolation, the kids who need us need you, and we appreciate you being here. That's what matters.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree with Kim there. You know, we are their beacon of hope. You know, no one else is going out there and trying to save these children. You know, we all have our past. You know, we've done things that sometimes, you know, could be unforgivable, at times. But we are here now, and we are the voice for the voiceless. And we got to be their beacon of hope, and, you know, encourage them to be, to find that light that's out there. And, you know, with that, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to say before we start wrapping this up?
I just like to say thank you to everybody who supported me through everything, because without support from family and without family and friends, you know, we're nowhere. And I want to reemphasize the fact that those digital fires are hurting people. You know, this is fire coming out of these computers, and it's bad. And you got to start sitting around the real fires, because that's good. You know, you cook your food, you know, and have some communion and speak to people. You know, it doesn't have to be a church. It doesn't have to be a synagogue. It doesn't have to be a temple. You know, it can be in your backyard. You know, just like I said, it's in us. The church doesn't, the brick and mortar doesn't matter. We have it right here. Do it in the woods. Do it by yourself. You know, and like I said about going in the woods and listening to nature, you know, I'm an herbalist too, and I forage all the time. And I was out collecting dandelions and some prickly lettuce, and I was out getting all the stuff. And nettles, stinging nettles, is like the unbelievable amount of minerals and everything. You would not believe what God gave us. And God's medicine is the real medicine. And the problem is God medicine, it's free. And I didn't talk about this before. And you have to understand that all of this is made for a reason. If you watch the TV and you see the commercials, why is it all pharmaceutical? And in the old days, there was all the stuff that your side effect might be a slight headache. But nowadays, your side effects is like anal bleeding and all this. It's like, whoa, what? Oh, well, alopecia is now a huge drug that you can kind of cure now, but your side effects is like death. It's like, okay, cool, I can grow my hair out, but I'm going to die. It's like, what happened? So you can go out there and you can cure yourself if you know who to talk to and what to do. God gave us everything we have. Everything here on earth is everything we need. You don't need anything processed. You don't need anything processed. Listen to me that again. It's like, it's here, you know? And I'm at the point right now that I haven't taken a pharmaceutical in a long time. And I was an opiate. That's one of the reasons I didn't even bring that up, but the pharmaceutical with the VA and everything else was part of the problem I had. I was on these mood stabilizers, and I almost said destabilizers because that's what it was doing. And all the other stuff they had me on was really destroying me. And that's how it led me down a really bad road. And God's medicine. You need to understand that everything I'm doing out there and foraging, it's real. And I'm a witness to that also, is that I'm curing stuff in my own life. And I haven't seen a doctor or a psychologist or a pharmacist at all. It's here. You just have to have faith that he gave us everything we need. You know, it's all in us and on this earth right now. And it's on this earth because you need to talk to your friend over there, because of your friends you also need. So talk to them, you know. And I know there's so much to say, and there's so much for me to fight for, and so much for me to fix the stuff that I've done wrong. And I'm going to keep fighting. I'm not quitting. Craig, I'm there for you. And Veterans for Child Rescue, I'm here for you 100%. And any other organization out there, if you're a veteran organization like Craig's here, you know, contact the other small organizations like this and mine. And if we network, those big ones aren't really helping. It has to be smaller. So contact them and team up. And I'm helping out this organization and a few other ones, you know. So there's good out there. Find the beacons, please. So thank you so much, all of y'all, for having me on here and letting me speak. You know, thank you for this time. I'm very grateful.
Cheif Beck, you know, it's been a pleasure getting you on here, and, you know, I'm glad to be able to share this knowledge and, you know, take all of the knowledge that you were able to share to our audience. And I believe it'll definitely hit some people in the right ways. So again, thank you for coming on here.
Thank you.
Kim, you got anything before we close her up? All right. Well, I'm going to say a little quote, then I'll close it out with a prayer here. This quote came from a guy that I got to work with, and, you know, he was an amazing leader. I have mad respect for him. So, you know, here it is. From a cultural aspect, the right team will always find a way to succeed, no matter what happens. The wrong team, even if it's properly resourced and has everything it needs to succeed, will seldom achieve complete success. By Colonel Lee Van Arsdale. With this, we are looking to unite with more of you in the success of our mission into protecting the little children. If you want to join us, please volunteer at our website, vetsforchildrescue.org. All right, so we'll finish it up here with the prayer, and we'll get this wrapped up. Lord, I pray you look after all the little children out there in the world. I pray you guide them through their darkest days and show them the light that is coming for them. Please look after Cheif Beck and their journey, their success, and inspiration to so many people out there. Please let their voice not be silenced by their evil that is out there. Please finally, please look after everyone in need and those that we are trying to reach out and support. Please protect them, give them hope, and help them find peace. Amen. Thank you all for coming in, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.